the doorbell rang. And in just 2 seconds, Noah Parker understood that his marriage had been ripped to pieces right there on his own front step. His phone vibrated on the kitchen table, the screen glowing blue under the soft yellow light. The alert looked as cold as a verdict. Front door motion detected. Noah froze with his hand still pouring coffee. The dark stream missed the rim, spilled onto the granite, spreading like a stain that would never truly come clean. He tapped the video. The doorbell camera view was painfully clear. The front porch of their suburban Atlanta home was damp with morning mist. The wooden steps, freshly repainted last week to match the HOA standards, still carried a sharp chemical scent. And in the center of the frame, his wife, Sienna Parker, stood there in a thin cream cardigan, her hair loosely tied as if she had just stepped out of sleep. But her eyes were not dreamy. They were awake, terrifyingly awake. Facing Sienna was a stranger. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark jacket, standing with the easy confidence of a man who believed he had the right to walk into any place he wanted. He leaned closer and said something. Noah could not hear the words, but he saw Sienna's mouth curve into a smile. Not a polite smile, not a social smile. It was the smile of someone speaking to a person she trusted completely. Sienna lifted a hand and lightly touched his chest, the kind of intimate gesture that looked practiced, familiar. Then she tilted her head and whispered, and the camera microphone caught every word. "He is just a delivery guy, nothing to worry about." Noah could not breathe. It was not the kind of choking shock that makes you gasp. It felt like someone had opened the lid on a sealed room and sucked out all the oxygen, leaving him alone in a cold, empty space. The kitchen went dead silent. Only the steady hum of the air conditioner remained, the faint vibration of the refrigerator, and the pounding of his own heart so loud his ears started to ring. He stared at the line on the screen as if it were a blade carving him open. Just a delivery guy. Nothing to worry about. That sentence was not only betrayal, it was humiliation. It pushed him below even the role of a husband. It turned him into something useful, like a tool, an employee, a man allowed to exist in the house as long as he knew when to stay quiet. Noah rewound the clip, then rewound it again. He wanted to believe he misheard. He wanted to believe the microphone had distorted the sound. He wanted to believe it was a tasteless joke. But no, everything was clear. Sienna's breathing. Her voice, light and casual, like she was commenting on the weather. The way she glanced left and smiled, as if they were sharing a secret that thrilled them both. Noah locked the screen. For a moment he just stood there, still holding the phone, coffee still overflowing, while something inside him cracked slowly. Not with a dramatic shatter, not with a loud collapse. It broke the way a rope breaks when it is sliced a little at a time until it cannot hold any more. He thought about the mornings he woke before the sun, the heavy boxes he hauled up and down, the polite smiles he forced while apologizing to customers for late deliveries, the way his hands split and roughened in winter wind, all so he could bring home money and keep this house standing. He thought about Evan, their 7-year-old son, asleep upstairs, hugging an old teddy bear, believing his dad was the greatest man in the world. And he thought about Sienna, the woman who once held him tight on their wedding night and said she loved how patient he was. She loved his kindness. She loved a man who did not show off. And now she was on that porch, talking about him like he was not worth counting. Right then, footsteps sounded on the stairs. Evan patted down, messy hair, heavy eyes. He rubbed his face, looked at Noah, then looked at the coffee spilled across the counter. "Dad, you spilled it." Noah nodded quickly, his voice turning rough. "Yeah, I spilled it." Evan giggled and ran over, wrapping his arms around Noah's leg out of habit. That small hug nearly dropped Noah to his knees. It was too light, too pure. It knew nothing about the dirty things adults were doing. Upstairs, the bedroom door opened. Sienna came down barefoot in a soft nightdress, her face perfect as if she had never been outside at dawn. She looked at Noah, looked at the coffee stain, then flicked her eyes to the delivery uniform on his body. "Oh, you are home early." She spoke like he had simply stopped by to pick up the mail. Then she smirked. "My delivery guy knows how to come home early too." The words cut through the kitchen like a slap. Evan lifted his head, eyes clear and curious. "Mom, what is a delivery guy?" Sienna hesitated for a beat, then laughed. "That is your dad. Your dad delivers things for people." Noah felt heat rush up his throat. Not an explosive rage, but shame forced down like something he had to swallow. He looked into Sienna's eyes. There was no regret there, only the casual coldness of someone who was used to looking down on him. But Noah did not react the way she expected. He only bent down, smoothed Evan's hair, and spoke low and slow. "Your dad delivers packages, yes, but your dad delivers something else too." Evan's face brightened with curiosity. "What?" Noah looked straight at Sienna, his smile thin as a blade. "I deliver the truth. To the right address, to the right person, and I always have proof." Sienna frowned, as if she did not understand. Noah turned back to the kitchen table. He opened his phone, careful not to let her see, and quietly created a new folder. He gave it a short name. Truth, then he saved the video inside it. In his chest, a decision formed, sharp and clean like a line drawn on paper. He would not shout, he would not fight, he would not turn this into a show for the neighbors to enjoy. He knew this neighborhood too well, a place where the HOA controlled everything under the words curb appeal and community value, where a rumor could kill a man faster than a knife. If they wanted to make him look small, he would let them believe it, until the day the doorbell rang again, and the next time it rang, the entire neighborhood would be forced to hear the truth. Rumors spread faster than the doorbell, and that morning Noah Parker stepped out of his house like a man walking out of a courtroom where the sentence had already been decided. No one said anything directly, they only watched. Eyes slid over him like dull blades. A garage door shut a little too early. Curtains parted into a narrow crack. In Cedar Ridge, people did not need cameras to track you. They had each other, and they loved the feeling of protecting the community by tearing apart one man's reputation. Noah pulled the zipper of his uniform jacket higher, covering his neck. Not because it was cold, but because he needed something to hold him together so he would not start breathing in sharp, broken bursts. He looked back at the porch, where the doorbell camera stood like a silent witness. Then he walked down. The gray delivery van sat at the curb. A warning note from the HOA was still stuck to the windshield from last night, the bold letters hitting like a punch. Unauthorized commercial vehicle. He had not even peeled it off when he heard heels clicking behind him. Sienna stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her voice sweet like honey but cold like a needle. "Remember to park where you are supposed to. The HOA is watching." Noah did not turn around. He only nodded, like an employee taking orders. But in his mind, that sentence split open and he examined every word. This was not about the community. Not about rules. This was a game, a trap, and Sienna was trying to turn him into prey inside the very neighborhood he paid for month after month. Noah started the engine. The sound cut through the quiet morning. As he rolled out of the neighborhood, his phone vibrated. A notification from the Nextdoor app appeared like a fresh smear on the screen. Alert. A delivery vehicle parked overnight in the neighborhood. Noah tapped it. The post did not name him, but there was a photo taken from someone's camera, angled from the side, slightly blurry, clear enough to turn an ordinary man into someone suspicious. Below it, dozens of comments piled up. "I saw him walking around near several houses late at night. He looks untrustworthy. Poor Sienna, this kind of person in our neighborhood is dangerous." Dangerous, because he delivered packages. Noah tightened his grip on the steering wheel until his knuckles went pale. In the rearview mirror, the neighborhood shrank behind him, but the feeling of being followed did not fade. It clung to the back of his neck like someone's breath too close. Back at home, Sienna was holding her own phone. Her eyes brightened as she watched the post spread. She added a comment, the way someone might pretend they were being kind. "Everyone, please do not be too harsh. He is under pressure. I hope you can understand." One line, enough to paint Noah as unstable, enough to make her look like a good wife trying to endure, enough to plant a seed of suspicion in people who lived for judgment. But Sienna could not see Noah then. Inside the delivery van on the highway, Noah did not scream. He did not slam his fist. He only exhaled slowly. His eyes went dark, not from despair, but from clarity. He opened the truth folder again. He looked at the morning clip. Sienna's smile. The way she treated him like trash that could be swept away. Then he tapped the save option again. An old habit returned, like a blade being sharpened after years forgotten. Noah had once thought he left the world of evidence, reports, and exposing powerful people behind. He thought being a delivery driver was enough to live quietly. But not anymore. Sienna wanted him to bow. The HOA wanted him gone. The whole neighborhood wanted a story to chew on. Noah stared at the road ahead, the voice in his mind turning cold and steady. Fine. He would give them a story, but this time, the one exposed would not be him. The HOA letter did not arrive in a plain white envelope. It came in a thick cream envelope with a red seal, a line that made Noah Parker feel like he had been served court papers, notice of hearing. That afternoon when Noah returned home after a long day on the road, the envelope was sitting on the welcome mat. No knock, no call, just the envelope, lying there like a trap placed exactly where it needed to be. Noah bent down and picked it up. The paper was stiff. The ink smelled fresh. The Cedar Ridge Estates HOA logo gleamed like a stamp of authority. From the porch, he glanced at the doorbell camera. A small, pale blue light blinked like an eye watching. Noah felt his spine go cold. The feeling of being watched was no longer imagination. It had become part of life here, like the white fences, like the perfect lawns, like the way people smiled and stabbed you later. He opened the door and stepped inside. The house smelled like fabric softener, scented candles, and dinner, all blended into the illusion of warmth. Sienna stood in the kitchen holding a glass of water, hair neat, light makeup, like nothing in the world was wrong. She glanced at the envelope in Noah's hand and smirked. "Oh, it is here." Noah looked at her. His eyes held no fiery rage, the kind she expected to provoke, only a deep, cold quiet. "What is here?" Sienna shrugged, speaking like she was describing an online order. "The HOA hearing. They will decide what to do about your vehicle and a few other things." She said a few other things so lightly it was frightening, like it was obvious, like she had been ahead of him for a long time. Noah opened the envelope. The paper inside was formatted like legal text, lines and clauses and bullet points. But one sentence hit him in the face. Potential escalation to removal recommendation. A recommendation to force removal from the community. Noah exhaled slowly. A small laugh slipped out, not because it was funny, but because the game finally showed its real shape. Sienna leaned on the counter, watching him like an object about to be thrown away. "Do not make this a big deal. If you behave, everything will be smooth." Oh, Noah folded the paper and placed it on the table like an invoice. "You want me gone from this neighborhood." Sienna did not deny it. She tilted her head, her voice turning softer, pretending sympathy. "Noah, I cannot live in a place where people look at my husband like a threat. I am tired. I need a decent life." Noah looked at her and almost found it laughable. She was saying decent while using the dirtiest road imaginable. That night, Atlanta wind hit hard. Noah drove to the neighborhood clubhouse where the HOA held the hearing. The building was low, lit with warm yellow lights, glass doors shining. From outside, he could already see silhouettes inside, gathering like shadows waiting for a show. The parking lot was full. Clean SUVs lined up in rows. Noah parked his van farthest away, stepped out, and straightened his uniform. He knew they wanted to see him dressed like this. They wanted to feel like they were judging someone beneath them. So he would give them exactly what they wanted to see. The clubhouse door opened. Cold air conditioning hit his face. The smell of strong coffee, paper, and expensive perfume blended into the scent of power and fake smiles. Inside the meeting room, chairs were set in rows like a courtroom. At the front, the HOA board sat behind a long table. The president sat in the center, Graham Hollis, 50 years old, a touch of gray in his hair, a crisp shirt, a bright watch on his wrist. He looked at Noah the way a man looks at a flawed report. To Graham's right was Pamela Reed, a woman who always claimed she loved the community, but her eyes looked like a hunter's. And around the room were familiar faces, neighbors who once smiled at Noah when they received a package. Now they looked at him like garbage. Sienna entered a few minutes after Noah. She wore a simple but elegant dress, a folder in her hand, walking slowly like a suffering wife trying to do the right thing. She sat in the front row. She did not look at Noah. She stared straight ahead as if she were the most important witness. Graham tapped a small wooden gavel on the table. The sound was not loud, but it was enough to silence the room. The hearing begins. Topic: violation of commercial vehicle regulations and impact on neighborhood safety. He read each line like a sentence being handed down. Commercial vehicle parked overnight. Aesthetic impact. Creates unease for residents. Reports of unusual movement. Noah listened without blinking. He knew those words were chosen carefully. No direct accusation was needed. Only a feeling. Only the right framing so people would feel permitted to hate him. Pamela stood to speak, her voice theatrical like she was performing. I have lived here 10 years. I have never felt as worried as I do lately. A delivery vehicle, a man who leaves early and comes home late. And honestly, we have tried to be kind. Heads nodded. Small nods, like tiny hammers driving nails into Noah's dignity. Sienna was invited to speak. She stood, pressed a hand to her chest, her voice trembling just enough. I do not want to do this, but I am a mother. I have to think of my son. Lately he has been stressed. He has changed. I am afraid. One word, afraid, slid into the crowd like a thorn. Noah heard whispers. Something is wrong with him. Poor her. She deserves better. Noah looked at Sienna. He saw the cold light in her eyes. She was not afraid, she was calculating. She was using their son as a shield, and she was using the HOA like a knife. Graham leaned back, his concluding tone already decided. We propose increased fines, and if violations continue, we will recommend forced removal from the community. Only then did Noah stand. Not rushed, not impulsive. He stood like a man who understood every step of an investigation. The room fell quiet again, waiting to see what the delivery guy would do. Graham asked, his voice dry, Mr. Parker, do you have anything to say? Noah looked around the room, at the judging faces, then looked straight at Graham. I only have one question. Graham frowned. What question? Noah spoke slowly, each word clean and nailed in place. Before the HOA sent this notice, who was the first person to propose this hearing? Silence dropped. No one answered right away. Sienna held her breath. Pamela flicked her eyes toward Graham. Graham's voice turned hard, evasive. This is procedure. Many residents raised concerns. Noah nodded, as if that was exactly what he expected. Then provide the list of complaints, with the times, the contents, and the original unedited reports. The room began to stir. Graham's face shifted. Pamela pressed her lips tight. Sienna's expression tightened, her eyes flashing with irritation, not fear, but the anger of being pushed out of her safe script. Noah remained standing, calm enough to feel dangerous. In the corner, a man stood slowly. Tall, dark jacket, eyes sharp as a blade. Noah saw him, and an old memory lit inside him like lightning. The man was Lance Mercer. No introductions were needed. That kind of presence was not an ordinary resident. Lance stood in the back like someone used to controlling rooms without ever sitting at the front table. His eyes met Noah's for a beat, and Noah read the message in it like a line of text. "You should not be here." Noah's mouth curved into a small smile, not kind, not friendly. He looked straight at Lance, then back at Graham. "I think this is not a hearing about a vehicle. This is a deal." The sentence landed like a rock thrown into still water. The entire room froze. Sienna's face drained. Pamela half rose as if to protest. Graham slammed the table. "You are making accusations." Noah did not back down. "Call it whatever you want. I want the file, I want the originals, I want the process documented. And if the HOA cannot provide it, I will find it myself." He paused, then looked toward Sienna, his voice dropping, slower, heavier, hurt, but steady, because I have an old habit. When someone tries to push a man out of his own home, I stop asking. I investigate, and this time I have a doorbell camera. That night, Noah Parker did not sleep. Not because he was still shocked, but because he was alert, painfully alert. Every sound inside the house became a sign. The faint creak of wood under the stairs, the wind brushing the window, the refrigerator clicking on. All of it reminded him that something was rotting under the roof he had once called home. Sienna slept well. She lay with her back turned to him, shoulders loose, breathing steady like someone carrying no guilt at all. Noah stared at the curve of her neck and felt a strange distance. There was a time he believed that was the safest place in his life. Now it looked like the surface of someone who could smile, lie, and destroy another person without blinking. Noah sat up and moved down the stairs as quietly as he could. He did not turn on any lights. He let the glow of his phone guide him. In the kitchen he made a fresh cup of coffee but did not drink it. He set it aside like a ritual, a way to keep his mind sharp. Then he opened the doorbell camera app. The folder named Truth was there, a short, cold name. But inside it was an entire marriage being peeled open layer by layer. Noah did not rewatch the morning clip anymore. He went backward. 1 day, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks. He dragged the timeline bar like a rope pulling the truth out into the open. The screen showed the porch over and over, night after night, morning after morning. A quiet little movie of ordinary life that he had never truly watched because Noah had been the kind of man who trusted. He trusted his wife. He trusted that if he stayed decent, life would answer him with decency. But what he saw made his blood turn cold. Lance Mercer did not show up once. He showed up regularly, like an appointment. Some nights it was still dark outside when Sienna opened the door fast, like she had been waiting. She stepped out without even putting on a jacket, standing in the cold wind without flinching. Lance handed her a thin envelope. Sienna took it, slipped it into her pocket, then smiled. Another night, Lance did not bring an envelope. He brought a stack of papers clipped inside a black cover. Sienna flipped through them quickly, eyes scanning like someone used to reading contracts. She nodded. Lance leaned in and said something. Sienna let out a soft laugh and placed her hand on his arm. Noah replayed that moment 3 times. That touch was not accidental. It was a message. He belonged to her, and she no longer belonged to Noah. Noah zoomed in on a frame. On Sienna's hand, her wedding ring was still there, bright, sparkling, like a mockery. He kept scrolling. Another clip appeared, blurrier because of rain. Sienna opened the door, not smiling this time. Lance stood close to the steps, and his voice came through clearly because the night was quiet. The sentence hit Noah like a kick to the chest. When the HOA finishes the vote, he will leave on his own. You just have to push him the right way. Noah saw Sienna press her lips together, then exhale like a burden had been lifted. Yeah, he will not dare do anything. He is just a delivery guy. Noah closed his eyes. In the darkness of the kitchen, he could hear his own blood moving. A hot, burning ache crawled from his chest up his throat, but he did not scream. He did not throw his phone. He did not slam the counter. He only opened his eyes and stared at the screen like an investigator staring at evidence. That was when he understood it was no longer simple betrayal. It was a plan. And there were more people involved than he ever imagined. He moved forward again, and then he saw it. Not Lance. Someone else stepped onto the porch, a gray suit, heavy steps, a thick waist. Even from the side, Noah recognized him instantly. Graham Hollis, the HOA president, the man who sat at the front table earlier pretending to be fair like a judge, was standing at Noah's front door like he belonged there. Sienna opened the door with a brighter face, smiling like she was greeting an important guest. Graham reached out to shake her hand. Sienna shook back. They talked. Then Graham tilted his head, and his voice slipped into the microphone. "Do not worry. The board will handle the rest." Sienna nodded. "Lance will handle the paperwork. You handle the community." Graham laughed, the laugh of a man who used rules as a mask. "We call it protecting neighborhood value." Noah sat completely still for a long time. In his mind, an old door swung open. Years earlier, when he worked in compliance and control, he had seen how people connected behind closed doors, how they created fake files, staged witnesses, destroyed the reputation of anyone without power. Noah thought he left that world behind. But the truth was, that world had only changed its outfit. It swapped expensive suits for HOA polo shirts. It replaced corporate boardrooms with a clubhouse. It traded CEO signatures for the signatures of small kings inside a neighborhood. Noah lowered his head and opened the download menu. He saved each clip carefully. He labeled them clearly. Date, time, person, content. He worked like a man who could no longer afford emotion. Upstairs, Sienna shifted in bed. The sheets rustled. Noah looked up toward the dark staircase. For a moment, he still felt pain, because the woman upstairs had once been his family. Then he looked back at the screen, and the pain began changing into something else, something harder, sharper, quieter. Noah turned off the phone. He lifted the coffee cup and took a small sip, bitter enough to numb his tongue. He whispered, not to anyone else, but to himself. All right, if they want to play dirty with files and rumors, he would answer with truth. And truth, once delivered to the right address, could not be returned. Sienna sent the wrong text message. Just one line, but it was enough for Noah Parker to understand that everything he was enduring was not an accident. It was a demolition planned with the precision of tearing down an old house. That morning, Noah was sitting in the delivery van at the lot, still not out of the driver's seat. Atlanta was gray, drizzle falling like a thin curtain. His phone vibrated. A message notification appeared. Sender, Sienna. Tomorrow is the meeting. After that, he will be removed from the community. You can relax. Noah stared at the words. His finger did not move. He did not reply. He did not call. He only looked, like he was watching the final blade slide out of its sheath. Then another message arrived immediately after, as if Sienna realized the mistake and panicked. I sent that by accident. I mean, do not worry about the HOA. I will handle it. Noah laughed once, dry and short, echoing inside the empty van like metal striking metal. She did not even know how to lie with basic care anymore. Or maybe she was too certain Noah would swallow anything because in her mind he was only a delivery guy, the kind of man who took humiliation and kept running. Noah turned off the screen. He sat still for a few seconds and let the meaning sink into his blood. Tomorrow is the meeting. After that, he will be removed from the community. Not a fine, not a warning, not improving curb appeal, removal. Noah opened the phone again, not to rage, but to take a screenshot. Save it. Name the file. Then send a copy to his private email. He did it on reflex, like a buried part of him had awakened. The part that lived on evidence, procedure, and staring straight at truth without shaking hands. The part he tried to bury after he married Sienna. After he chose to walk away from cold meeting rooms and corporate power games so he could be a normal man. A decent husband, a hardworking father, a delivery driver. But that part woke up that morning. Noah drove straight to a small coffee shop on the edge of the city, a place with no HOA, no neighbor cameras, no eyes that treated him like a stain. He ordered black coffee and sat in a back corner, eyes fixed on the door. 10 minutes later, a woman walked in. She wore a dark coat, black hair tied neatly back, a sharp face, eyes trained to read body language. She scanned the room once, spotted Noah, and walked over, setting her bag down. Noah. He nodded. Tessa Nguyen, 36 years old. A former colleague from his past at a major property management corporation. Now an independent compliance investigator and legal consultant. She did not do small talk. She looked him in the face and spoke her first sentence like a stamp. You would not call me unless it was serious. Noah slid his phone across the table. The truth folder was already open. Clips, messages, screenshots, all arranged by date and time like a case file. Tessa skimmed. Her eyes did not flinch, but her jaw tightened. She is using the HOA to destroy you with paperwork. Noah looked down at his hands. Rough knuckles. Calluses. These hands once typed in a glass office, signed reports. Led investigations that made men in expensive suits lose titles and reputations. Now these hands carried boxes. Noah gave a thin smile. And the whole neighborhood thinks I only deliver packages. Tessa lifted her gaze, looking straight through the uniform as if she could see the man underneath. Noah, you chose delivery work because you wanted peace, not because you lack ability. Noah stayed quiet. A soft exhale slipped out. Inside him was still a pain he could not name. He believed that if he gave up power and ambition, life would hand him something simple. But when he lowered himself, others treated it like permission to step on him. Tessa pulled out a small notebook and began writing fast. All right, I need answers. Who is the man? Lance Mercer, you are sure, I am sure. Who is the HOA president? Graham Hollis. She nodded, pen pausing. Those two names do not sit together by accident. Noah looked out the window. Rain dotted the glass. Cars passed, leaving long streaks like scratches. He spoke slowly. I saw them shake hands on my porch. Tessa leaned back, her eyes turning colder. Then this is not just marriage drama, this is collusion. Abuse of authority, defamation. And if they can do it to you, they have done it to others. Noah stared into the black surface of his coffee and saw his own reflection. But the man in it was no longer someone ready to accept defeat. I need the truth back. Tessa placed her hand on the table, voice firm. No, you need control back. The sentence hit something deeper inside Noah. He remembered an old lesson from compliance work. People do not fear words. They fear documents. Noah lifted his phone. I have clips, I have texts, I have timestamps, but I need more. Tessa nodded. You need a chain of evidence, witnesses, records of everything the HOA does. Every letter, every fine, every Nextdoor post. And most of all, you need a trap that makes them expose themselves. Noah looked up. What trap? Tessa did not smile, but there was a sharp light in her eyes. They think you are just a delivery guy. That makes them confident. That makes them careless. You only need to keep letting them underestimate you for a little longer." Noah stared out at the rain, then looked down at his uniform. In that moment, he understood something terrifying. This uniform was not only humiliation, it was camouflage. It made people talk freely. It made people reveal their nature. Noah stood, pulled the zipper higher, face calm. Then, "I will make one more delivery." Tessa looked at him. "Deliver what?" Noah answered, low and clean. "The truth. And this time, I will deliver it in front of the entire neighborhood." After that, the whole neighborhood started hunting Noah like he was a thief, and the most frightening part was not that they hated him, it was that they hated him while feeling proud of themselves, convinced they were protecting a civilized community. That afternoon, the moment Noah turned onto the road leading back into Cedar Ridge, his phone began vibrating non-stop as if someone was pounding on the door of his life. Nextdoor alerts appeared one after another, so fast the screen barely had time to dim. Alert: the delivery guy is standing in front of house number too long. Did someone see him taking pictures? I saw his van parked near the elementary school. He might be scouting. Noah did not even need to open them to imagine the rest. He had seen this kind of attack in his old world. The only difference was that back then people stabbed with reports. Here, they stabbed with rumors and smiles. He parked in front of his house and stepped out. Before he could even shut the van door, he heard someone call his name from across the street. Noah. Pamela Reed. She stood on her porch holding a glass of water like she was watching a great show. Two other women stood beside her, hair carefully styled, expensive athletic jackets, phones already in their hands. Pamela narrowed her eyes. Home late again, delivering until dark. Her voice was sweet, but it carried the smell of interrogation. Noah nodded politely, yes. Pamela sipped her water slowly, like she was deciding where to bite. Strange, a delivery guy who leaves early, comes back late, always out on the road. Who knows what you do when you are not working? One of the women beside her let out a quiet laugh. Noah noticed their phone cameras angled toward him even though they pretended they were not filming. Noah did not react. He walked across the yard and opened the front door, but before he could step inside, Sienna appeared. She came out fast, worry on her face measured like a performance, like a wife trying to protect the family image. She looked at Pamela and sighed. "Pamela, I am sorry. Noah has been under work pressure lately. He does not mean anything by it." Noah froze on the doorstep. In that moment, he saw the real strike. She was not defending him, she was stamping the rumor that something was wrong with him. Pamela's eyes lit up immediately. "I understand. I am just concerned. For the community, for the children." The word children was pressed like a verdict. Noah felt his throat tighten. He thought of Evan, and the way kids at school had started calling his father a delivery guy like it was an insult. Inside the living room, Evan was doing homework. When he saw Noah, his face brightened. "Dad, you are home." But the smile faded as he heard the murmuring outside. Evan looked toward the window and saw neighbors gathering like people gathering around an accident. He swallowed hard. "Dad, what are they saying about you?" That question cut deeper than any insult. Noah knelt to meet his son's eyes and kept his voice steady. "It is okay. Adults talk nonsense sometimes." Evan looked at him, eyes trembling. "But I heard kids at school say you are a bad person. They said you watch people's houses." Noah felt a crack spread through his chest. He pulled Evan into a hug tighter than usual, like if he let go, the world would swallow his child. Upstairs, Sienna stood in the hallway watching. Her eyes held no pain, only calculation. For her, Evan was a tool too, a reason to say I'm afraid. Noah spoke, voice low. "Are you satisfied now?" Sienna frowned, acting innocent. "What are you talking about?" Noah stared at her. "You released rumors. You play the victim. You let them call me dangerous in front of our son." Sienna gave a soft laugh, cold as stone against glass. "You think you are the victim, Noah. You embarrass me. You came into this neighborhood with that rough delivery van, and I have to listen to people look down on us. I'm only putting things back in order." Noah fell silent. He realized what hurt most. Sienna had not loved him for a long time. She kept him like something useful, until she found a better replacement, a man who matched her idea of status. At that moment, Noah's phone rang. A call from an unknown number. He answered. A man's voice, deep, carrying power. "Mr. Noah Parker, I am the attorney for Mr. Lance Mercer. We have received reports that you have been stalking and harassing my client." Noah stood still. Sienna behind him also went still, but her eyes flickered once, a tiny beat, like she knew this call would come. The attorney continued, cold. "If you continue approaching or spreading any images related to my client, we will take legal action immediately." Noah listened without panic. Instead, everything became brutally clear. They did not only want to ruin him inside the neighborhood. They wanted to silence him before he could speak. Noah looked at Evan, then at Sienna, and lowered his voice, calm enough to feel terrifying. "Fine." He ended the call. In Noah's eyes, the pain was still there. But beneath it, something else was rising. Something that stopped him from being led. Something that made predators fail to notice the prey had turned around. Noah stepped to the front door and looked out at the yard. Pamela and the neighbors were still there, still pretending to chat, still holding their phones. Noah opened the door wide. He looked at them, no smile, no anger. Then he spoke loudly enough for them to hear. "You want a story. I will give you a story." He closed the door, the lock clicked clean, and in the quiet house, Noah whispered like a vow. "But this time, the truth will be the witness, not the rumor." Sienna did not know that night Noah Parker recorded everything. She thought speaking softly in the kitchen was enough, that a delivery guy could not understand the meaning under words. But Noah heard her. And this time he did not only hear with his ears. He heard with the experience of a man who once lived in a world where every sentence could become evidence. After the call from the attorney, the house sank into an uncomfortable silence. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of two people living under one roof while standing on opposite sides. Noah took Evan upstairs, told him a short story until his son drifted off. Evan tried to be brave, but Noah saw the way his eyes kept darting toward the door, like he feared someone would burst in and drag his father away. Noah sat on the edge of the bed, his hand on Evan's shoulder. "I am okay. I am just doing what is right." Evan swallowed. "But they say you are bad." Noah looked at his son, his eyes softening. Inside him, something ached because the boy was seeing adult cruelty too early. People believe what they want to believe, buddy, but the truth does not need anyone to believe it. It stays true anyway. Evan went quiet. Noah kissed his forehead. When Evan finally fell asleep, Noah stood and closed the door gently. Downstairs, Sienna was on the phone. Noah stopped halfway down the stairs, staying in the shadow. He did not go down right away. He listened. Sienna's voice carried from the living room, low but sharp, like a blade cutting paper. "I told you. Public opinion is on my side. He cannot fight the whole neighborhood. He is just a delivery guy." Noah felt his chest turn cold. But he was not surprised anymore. The frightening part was not that she said it. The frightening part was how obvious she believed it was. A man's voice replied through the phone, deep and confident. "Tomorrow, I will have the lawyer send another letter. If he posts the clip, he will be in trouble." Sienna let out a small laugh. "He will not dare. He is scared of losing his job, losing his house, losing face. Men like him only need a little threat, and they fold." Noah slid his hand into his pocket. His fingers touched the small device Tessa gave him earlier. A pocket recorder, compact like a USB drive. Noah turned it on. A faint light glowed. He let them talk. He let the truth pour out of their mouths by itself. Sienna continued, voice dropping like she was discussing a purchase. The HOA already has the minutes prepared. Graham will push the recommendation. When they vote, I can tell the court he is a danger to the community. I will take custody of Evan. I will keep the house. The man on the phone, Lance Mercer, let out a short laugh. Good. That house has a great location. I told you, you deserve the right kind of life. Noah closed his eyes for a moment, forcing himself not to throw up from disgust. She was using their son like a card, using the HOA like a blade, using Noah's dignity like trash to clear her path. Noah moved down the stairs without making a sound. He went straight into the kitchen, pulled out a chair, sat down with his back straight, both hands on the table. He did not confront her yet. Not now. He wanted to hear more. Sienna kept talking, unaware Noah was downstairs. I only worry about one thing, the doorbell camera, but I will handle it. I will tell him it belongs to the HOA, that recording causes problems. He will take it down himself. Noah's eyes flicked toward the front door. In his mind he saw the small camera, the pale blue light like an eye. Sienna wanted him to remove it because it was the one thing she could not control. Noah understood. And he saw something else, too. An opening. A person with a plan usually fears one thing, being exposed to light. In the small office beside the kitchen, Noah opened his laptop. He did not search randomly. He logged into a private storage system he still kept from his old life, an old email account, an old folder of documents, things he once believed he would never touch again. A list of projects appeared. Reports, files, email chains, the world Noah had left behind. His hands moved fast and precise, like someone who never forgot the work. He searched a name, Mercer Development, not to get revenge. To understand the opponent he was facing. The result made Noah's eyes go darker. An old lawsuit, an allegation of permit fraud. A project suspended, then suddenly approved. And inside the internal email chain, one name appeared again and again like a shadow. Graham Hollis. Noah leaned back, his heart landing heavy. So it was real. Not only cheating. Not only a dirty HOA. This was a network of interests. Noah looked up at the ceiling and heard Sienna's footsteps pacing in the living room. She was still laughing, still thinking she controlled everything. In Sienna's mind, Noah was only a gentleman. A man who would apologize. A man who would quit. But Noah was not that man anymore. He picked up his phone and sent Tessa a short text, no extra words. I have the recording. I have evidence. I found the connection between Mercer and Graham. Start the plan, the message sent. Noah stood, poured a glass of water, took one small sip as if swallowing pain and replacing it with something colder. In the living room, Sienna ended the call and walked into the kitchen. She saw Noah sitting there. She flinched slightly, just one beat. Then the smile returned like a mask. You are not asleep yet. Noah looked at her, calm enough to feel dangerous. Not yet. I am thinking. Sienna tilted her head. Thinking about what? Noah did not answer right away. He looked at Sienna like she was a stranger wearing the skin of someone he once loved. Then he spoke, low and slow. I think maybe you were right. Sienna froze, a flash of relief crossing her face. Right about what? Noah stood, walked past her like a shadow. I really am a delivery guy. He stopped at the door, glanced back, his smile faint, and I am going to deliver something special. To the right person, at the right time. Sienna did not understand. She only gave a small, dismissive smile, thinking it was surrender. But as Noah stepped into the backyard and faced the dark sky, wind cutting his cheeks, he knew one thing with absolute clarity. Tomorrow, they would no longer hold the rules. The truth would hold them. The night of the vote came sooner than Noah expected. and when he stepped into the clubhouse, the entire room was already prepared to watch him fall. The air inside was thick with the smell of strong coffee and expensive perfume. Rows of folding chairs formed a small audience, a place where people did not come to hear the truth. They came to watch a man be crushed under polite words. Noah stood at the doorway for a few seconds. He was still wearing the delivery uniform, not because he had no time to change, but because he chose it. He wanted everyone to see the thing they hated. He wanted them to see a delivery guy walking into a space they believed belonged only to people of the right status. Whispers started spreading like wind through dry leaves. He really came. I thought he would hide. Look at him, still in uniform, no shame at all. Pamela Reed sat in the second row, eyes shining like she was waiting for the best scene of the night. Her phone was in her hand, her finger ready to record. A small smile sat on her lips, the smile of someone about to enjoy another person's humiliation. At the front, Graham Hollis sat in the center of the HOA board table. He tapped a pen lightly against the wood as if counting down to the exact second he could deliver the final blow. Other board members sat on both sides, faces serious but eyes hungry. They loved the feeling of being judges. Then Sienna appeared. She entered without rushing. A deep blue dress hugged her just enough to look elegant. Her hair was pinned neatly, a small watch on her wrist, her face calm as if she had come to a friendly community gathering. But as she passed Noah, she did not look at him. She looked straight toward the board table, like someone who had already chosen the winning side. In the back row, there was a small movement. Lance Mercer walked in like the place belonged to him. No documents in his hands, no need for introductions. He simply sat down, crossed one leg over the other, arms resting with relaxed confidence, like a VIP guest arriving to watch the final act. Noah saw him, and inside Noah, a door slammed shut. There was no hope left for Sienna, no exit left for their marriage. Graham stood and struck the wooden gavel. Emergency meeting, subject, recommendation to increase penalties and consider forced removal from the community for Mr. Noah Parker. The word forced removal sounded like chains. Noah stepped forward and sat in the middle row. He did not lower his head. He did not avoid anyone's eyes. He quietly placed his phone into his jacket pocket, where the recorder was still running. In Noah's world, a meeting was not only words, it was a file. It was a record. Graham began reading the clauses, the accusations, every sentence designed to turn Noah into a threat. Commercial vehicle, unusual behavior, resident concern, damage to neighborhood value. The words were scattered like sand, not sharp enough to cut, but enough to burn the eyes. Pamela stood to speak. Her voice rose, full of moral pride. We cannot allow people who do not belong to destroy this place. I have seen him standing in front of other houses for a long time. I have seen his van driving in circles. I am not saying he committed a crime, but I am saying we need prevention. Not saying he committed a crime, yet planting the idea that he might. That was how crowds killed without blood. Sienna was invited to speak. She stood, eyes glossy just enough. I do not want to hurt my husband, but I am a mother. I cannot let my son live in fear. He has changed. I do not recognize him anymore. The room murmured. Heads nodded. People looked at Sienna with sympathy as if she were the victim. Noah heard someone sigh. Poor woman. She tried so hard. A man like him does not deserve her. Noah looked at Sienna. Her tears were not real. What was real was the quiet victory underneath her performance. Graham finished the accusations. He looked at Noah like a judge staring at a defendant. Mr. Parker, before we proceed with the vote, do you have anything to say? In that moment, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. Pamela raised her phone higher. Lance leaned forward slightly. Sienna pressed her lips together, waiting for Noah to explode so she could claim proof, but Noah stood very slowly. He did not defend himself. He did not apologize. He did not beg. He looked across the room at faces that believed they were above him. Then he spoke one sentence, calm enough to make people feel chills. "I only want to ask one thing." Graham frowned. "What?" Noah turned his gaze toward the board table. "If the HOA truly cares about community safety, why are the leaders standing beside a real estate investor who wants to take my house?" The room froze. Sienna flinched. Pamela went still like someone splashed with cold water. Lance narrowed his eyes, and for the first time his confidence cracked. Graham slammed his hand on the table. "You are talking nonsense." Noah gave a small nod. "Maybe. But I have something that will turn nonsense into proof." He paused and looked directly at Sienna. No hatred, no shouting, only the gaze of a man who could see through every layer. "And I would like permission to show everyone a video from my doorbell camera." The air turned hard. A chair creaked. A few people looked down as if trying to avoid Noah's eyes. Sienna stood stiff, lips parting, then closing, as if her mind was racing to find a new escape route. Pamela lowered her phone slightly, like she was no longer sure what she was recording. Noah walked toward the projector screen. He was not the man being judged anymore. He was the man about to deliver the verdict. The screen lit up, and the entire HOA room went silent, as if someone had squeezed all the air out of it. Noah Parker stood beside the projector, his hand still feeling the cold bite of the cable he had connected. He did not shake. Not because he was not hurting, but because he had already crossed the point of breaking. What remained now was the cold clarity of a man placing truth on the table, like placing a blade that did not need shouting to cut. Graham Hollis jumped up immediately. "This is not allowed. This is an internal meeting." Noah looked at him, voice low. An internal meeting with a real estate investor sitting in the back row. A few whispers burst out. Eyes began slipping toward Lance Mercer. Lance sat still, but his jaw tightened like a man whose real name had just been spoken in front of a crowd. Noah did not argue anymore. He pressed play. The first doorbell camera clip appeared. Clear, brutally clear. The porch damp with mist. The porch light soft yellow. Sienna Parker standing there in a thin cardigan, her arms loosely folded, her posture intimate. Lance facing her, leaning in like a man speaking to someone he considered equal. The microphone caught Sienna's voice, light like wind but sharp like a needle. "He is just a delivery guy, nothing to worry about." The sentence hit the meeting room like a hammer on stone. Pamela Reed's mouth fell open. A neighbor raised a hand to cover her lips. Someone let out a small sound. "Oh my God." Sienna stood frozen, her skin draining of color. Then she snapped, voice high, frantic, "You were spying on me." Noah did not turn toward her. He only fast-forwarded. The second clip played. Lance Mercer's voice, casual, calculating, like a man moving pieces on a board. When the HOA finishes the vote, he will leave on his own. "You just have to push him the right way," Sienna answered without hesitation. "He will not dare do anything. He is just a delivery guy." The room erupted into whispers like a hive struck open. People turned to look at each other. Some glanced down at their phones as if suddenly ashamed they had ever liked posts accusing Noah on Nextdoor. Graham slammed his hand on the table. "Turn it off. This proves nothing." Noah turned back, eyes cold. "I have not shown the clip that proves it." Graham froze. And in that moment, Noah pressed play again. The third clip. The front door opened. It was not Lance. It was not a stranger. It was Graham Hollis himself, wearing a gray suit, walking up Noah's porch steps like he belonged there. Sienna opened the door with a bright smile, like she was welcoming a valued guest. They shook hands. Graham's voice came through clean, like a promise. "Do not worry. The board will handle the rest," Sienna replied. "Lance handles the paperwork. You handle the community." Graham laughed, the laugh of a man who used rules to hide corruption. We call it protecting neighborhood value. For a single beat, the room went so quiet the air conditioner seemed loud. Then everything exploded. Someone jumped to their feet. "What are you doing?" He was right. Were we being played? Pamela stammered, eyes darting as if searching for an exit. "I did not know. I only? Lance Mercer stood up sharply, his chair scraping. "This is staged. This is edited." Noah turned toward him for the first time, voice calm enough to feel terrifying. "Edited. Then explain why you were at my front door on nights when I left early and came home late. And explain why my wife speaks to you like you belong in my house." Sienna screamed, her voice breaking. "What else do you want? You want to kill me in front of them." Noah looked at her. No love left. No hatred left. Only exhaustion so deep it felt like stone. "I do not want to kill you." He paused, every word slow, heavy. "You killed yourself, Sienna. You just believed no one could hear." Graham's face went pale. Sweat shined at his temple. He tried to pull his authority back into place. "This is an HOA meeting. I have the right to order everyone a woman's voice cut through, clear and sharp. You do not have the right anymore." Everyone turned. Rachel Kim, a young HOA member, stood from the side row, holding her phone like a piece of evidence. "I have copies of internal emails. You and Mr. Mercer discussed altering minutes, creating fake complaints. I have been silent long enough." Lance cursed under his breath. Graham's hands trembled. Pamela collapsed back into her chair like her body no longer knew how to sit upright. Noah looked around the room. In many eyes, the contempt they once held for him was changing into something else. Fear, shame, and awakening. Noah lowered his voice and ended with a sentence that did not need shouting to crush the room into silence. "You called me a delivery guy. Fine. Today I came to deliver something. The truth, and no one can return it." The meeting did not end with a vote. It ended with pale faces and the scraping noise of chairs moving in panic, like a room trying to escape itself. In the minutes after the final clip played, Cedar Ridge Estates stopped being a community. It became a battlefield of eyes. People who once smirked at Noah now stood awkwardly, hands clawing at pockets, lips pressed tight, unsure where to look. Graham Hollis sat as if nailed to his chair. The tiny wooden gavel in front of him looked ridiculous now. It used to frighten people. Now it was only decoration for a man whose mask had been ripped off. Pamela Reed's hands trembled. Her phone was still recording, the screen glowing. But no one wanted a recording to mock Noah anymore. They wanted recordings to save themselves. Lance Mercer was the first to move toward the exit. He walked fast, shoulders lifted like he could recover power through posture alone. But the room had already shifted. Dozens of eyes aimed at him like headlights. An older man stood up, voice rough. "You sat here from the beginning. You heard everything. Are you going to call this a misunderstanding?" Lance's face flipped into a cold smile. "You people do not understand business." "I was only talking," Rachel Kim cut him off, crisp and unforgiving. "You were not talking. You were buying votes, buying rules, buying their fear." The room tightened like a string pulled too far. Lance looked around and realized, maybe for the first time in his life, that the crowd no longer belonged to him. He turned toward Graham. "Do something." Graham swallowed. His mouth opened, then shut again. Noah saw it clearly. In Graham's eyes was something he had never tasted before. Panic. A man who used rules to crush others was now being crushed by the same rules. Graham forced himself to stand. His voice shook, but he tried to keep the superior tone. "This meeting is suspended. I will review." Noah did not interrupt. He only stared at him like an investigator staring at fraud marked in red ink, and it was Noah's silence that frightened Graham most. Pamela burst into sobs as if tears could wash away guilt. "I did not know. I swear I did not know. I only wanted to protect the neighborhood." Noah turned to her. His voice was quiet, not angry, not loud. "You did not protect the neighborhood. You protected your feeling of power." Pamela froze. She tried to answer, but nothing came out, because Noah was right, and she knew it. Sienna still stood there. She looked like a statue, lips colorless, eyes shaking, but not from remorse. Noah watched her and saw what she was doing, calculating, searching for a new angle. She always did. Sienna stepped closer, voice low, trying to pull Noah away from the crowd. "Noah, enough. Can we talk privately?" The words sounded soft, but they carried command. They sounded exactly like the way she spoke in the kitchen, calling him her delivery guy. Noah did not follow. He stood in the middle of that room, and people looked at him differently now. Some ashamed, some guilty, some terrified, and a few, for the first time, looking at him like a real man. Sienna took another step, her voice rising when she realized Noah would not obey. "You want me to lose everything. You want Evan to grow up with a mother who is humiliated." Noah's eyes darkened at the mention of their son, not with revenge, but with understanding. It was her final weapon. She was still using Evan as a shield. Noah looked straight at her, calm and slow. "You are not worried about Evan. You are worried about your image." Sienna cried harder, but Noah could tell the difference between real tears and performance. These tears had a purpose. Graham finally found his voice again. "Mr. Parker, this can be handled internally. We do not need to make this bigger." Noah let out a small laugh, not joyful, only cold. "Internally." He turned toward Graham, voice low, each word clean and heavy. "You used internal procedures to push me out of my home. You used internal procedures to shame me in front of my son. You used internal procedures to shake hands with a man who wanted to steal my property." He stepped forward half a step. The room fell silent again. "Now it is my turn." Noah pulled out his phone and opened the file list like opening an investigation folder. "All those clips have been backed up, sent to legal counsel, and forwarded to the appropriate oversight authorities." Lance's face turned pale. Pamela's mouth opened without sound. Graham took a step back like his body moved before his mind could think. Sienna stiffened. For the first time in her life, she understood that the delivery guy she despised was not only standing upright. He was holding the knife. But it was not a knife of violence. It was the knife of truth. Noah turned and walked out. No one stopped him. No one dared. When he stepped outside, the night wind hit his face. Cold, but clean. He stood on the clubhouse steps for a moment, staring into the dark sky. His chest held no rage now, only a quiet sadness, because he had won, and he had lost something forever. Trust. Sienna fell to her knees. Not the kind of kneeling that comes from true remorse. The kind that comes from a person running out of performance and trying to keep the stage with tears. Noah Parker arrived home close to midnight. The door opened to the lingering scent of candles. The kitchen light was still on, warm yellow spilling across the granite like a fake layer of comfort. But the house was not a home anymore. It felt like a set after filming, where all the love once spoken now echoed as empty sound. Sienna stood in the kitchen as if she had been waiting, a thin jacket over her shoulders, hair loose, cheeks red from crying. But her eyes were bright, not from pain, from fear. Fear of her world collapsing. Noah placed his keys on the counter. Not hard, not soft, just final. He looked at her, voice steady. "Evan is asleep." Sienna nodded quickly and stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Noah, let me explain." Noah did not answer. He walked to the cabinet, took a glass, drank a small sip of water. The cold cleared his head. He still saw the HOA room, the moment contempt turned into horror. He knew he could destroy them, but he could not save the marriage. Sienna rushed her words out like someone terrified of being cut off. I was pressured. Lance, Graham, they said if I did not cooperate, they would ruin my career. They said you would be fine. They said it was only HOA procedure. Noah stared at her. They said that, and you believed them. Sienna froze for a second. Then she switched tactics, softening her voice like casting another net. I only wanted a better life. I am tired of explaining to friends that my husband is only delivering packages. I wanted Evan to be proud. I wanted people to respect us. Hearing that, something inside Noah quietly died. She said us as if they shared a dream, but what she really meant was me. Her status, her ambition, her shame. Noah put the glass down. He did not raise his voice, but the words carried weight. You do not want Evan to be proud. You want strangers to admire you. Sienna sobbed like she'd been exposed. She stepped back, then dropped to her knees on the kitchen floor. Please, Noah, do not do this to me. Do not destroy me. I am begging you. Noah looked at the woman kneeling under him and felt no victory, only exhaustion. He remembered the early days, her laughter in that same kitchen, her arms around him while he washed dishes. He believed love could last if he tried hard enough. But love does not die because effort is missing. It dies because respect is missing. Noah bent down, not to help her up, but to make her hear each word clearly. I am not destroying you, Sienna. You destroyed yourself the day you called me a delivery guy. You thought it was a joke, but you buried me under other people's feet, and you did it in front of our son. Sienna looked up, tears falling, but her eyes sparked with anger. You have faults too. You chose to live low. You let people step on you. You refused to rise. She stopped, but the meaning was obvious. She wanted to say she only chose the winner. Noah looked at her. For the first time, his voice hardened like steel. You did not choose a winner, Sienna. You chose someone who looked like a winner in the eyes of strangers. Sienna opened her mouth to fight back, but Noah raised his hand slightly, stopping it. I do not want to argue any more. He turned to a drawer, opened it, took out a thin envelope already prepared earlier before the meeting. An envelope without patterns, without emotion, just paper. Noah placed it on the counter. This is the divorce filing. Sienna stared at it like it was the first real blade she had ever faced. She jumped up. No, you cannot. You are really leaving me. Noah watched her for a long moment. In his eyes there was pain, sadness, even pity, but not blind love anymore. I am not leaving you, Sienna. He paused, voice low. I am leaving the version of you that you became. Sienna shook, voice cracking. You will make me lose everything. Noah shook his head. I do not need to make you lose everything. I only need to stop standing in front of truth. Sienna swallowed hard. She looked at Noah like he was a stranger. She believed he was weak, easy to control. But the man in front of her now was different. He did not yell, did not slap, did not break anything. He simply decided. Upstairs, small footsteps sounded. Evan opened his bedroom door a little, sleepy eyes searching. Dad. Noah's face softened instantly. He moved up a few steps and lowered his voice. I am here. Go back to sleep. Evan looked down and saw his mom crying. He looked confused. Noah lifted him into his arms and held him tight. In that moment, Noah understood the only thing worth protecting now. Not the house, not the HOA, not public opinion. His child's peace. Noah carried Evan back to bed, pulled the blanket up. When Evan fell asleep again, Noah stood in the doorway longer than normal, like he was making a vow. No one will ever make you feel ashamed of your father again. He went back downstairs. Sienna was still there, eyes red, hair messy, and now real fear had entered her expression. Not fear of losing Noah, fear of losing power over Noah. Noah walked past her, opened the small office door, turned on the laptop. He did not speak further. He did not need to. Behind him, Sienna whispered, weak, almost broken, "Noah, who are you really?" Noah paused for one moment, not turning around immediately. Then he answered in a low voice, like closing a chapter of an old life, "I am the man you used to have, but you traded me for other people's eyes, and that is the most expensive price." 6 weeks later, Cedar Ridge Estates looked normal again, as if a human hunt had never happened. But Noah Parker knew better. The neighborhood did not change because it became good. It changed because it was exposed. That morning, the sky was clear. Soft sunlight landed on the maple trees, making the leaves shimmer like thin coins. Noah stood at the front door, holding the last cardboard box. It was not heavy, but it felt like lifting an entire piece of his life and placing it somewhere else. Inside the box were Sienna's things: a leather notebook, photo frames, perfume bottles, symbols of the life she chased. Polished, perfect, hollow. Noah stepped onto the porch. The doorbell camera watched him with its small blue light. He stopped and looked straight into the lens like looking at an old witness. It stood there day after day, recording truth while people tried to hide. It did not love anyone. It did not hate anyone. It only recorded. Noah set the box down and pressed the doorbell, a strange habit now. The ding sounded, light, clear, like a period at the end of a sentence. Across the street, Sienna's SUV door opened. She stepped out, thinner now, her beauty still there, but the proud shine gone from her eyes. She looked at Noah, then the box, then the camera. In her gaze, a flicker of cold appeared. Not hatred for Noah, hatred for the truth that humiliated her. Noah did not say much. "Your things." Sienna walked closer, her hand trembling slightly when she touched the box. Her voice was hoarse. "You won." Noah looked at her, calm. "I was never competing, Sienna." She gave a bitter smile. "Say that, but the whole neighborhood looks at me like I am a monster. They avoid me. They whisper behind my back. I cannot step outside without hearing them." Noah listened and felt no joy, only sadness. Because he understood what hurt her most was not losing a husband, it was losing admiration. "I lived on their eyes, Noah. She stopped." Noah did not force her to finish. He no longer needed to punish her. Truth already did. Across the street, Pamela Reed walked by. No arrogance left. She moved cautiously like she wanted to stay unseen. When she noticed Noah, she stopped for a second and nodded awkwardly. "Noah, I am sorry." Those two words sounded broken coming out of Pamela's mouth. She was not used to apologizing. She was used to judging. Noah nodded once. Not warm, not cruel. "I heard you." Pamela lowered her head and hurried away like she was running from her own reflection. Noah watched her and thought of something simple. People like Pamela do not change because they understand. They change because they fear being wrong. Graham Hollis was already gone from the neighborhood. He resigned the week after the meeting, and rumors spread that his employer launched an internal investigation. Lance Mercer stopped showing up like he was the future homeowner. His development project went under investigation, and the legal calls went silent like they never existed. Cedar Ridge returned to peace, but it was the peace of people who survived a fire. They stayed quiet because they knew their walls were not as strong as they believed. Noah walked back inside. Evan sat on the living room floor building a fire truck model. He looked up, smiling. "Dad, are we getting ice cream today?" Noah sat beside him and ran a hand through his hair. In that moment, everything else shrank. HOA shrank. Rumors shrank. Humiliation shrank. Only fatherhood remained real. "Yes, we are. But first I want you to remember something." Evan tilted his head. "What?" Noah looked straight into his son's eyes, voice slow and firm like planting a seed. "When people call your dad a delivery guy, I am not ashamed." Evan frowned. Why? Noah smiled, not big, but real. Because delivery work is honest work, it helps people live, and it helped me see who is real and who is fake. Evan went quiet for a few seconds, then nodded in a child's way, understanding the feeling even if he did not understand every detail. He snapped a small plastic piece into the model and said softly, eyes bright, "So you deliver the truth." Noah froze for a moment. Warmth and pain rose at the same time. He pulled Evan into a hug and kissed his hair. Yes, I deliver the truth. That afternoon, Noah went to the front door and replaced the small sign. It no longer said, "Welcome home." He replaced it with one simple line, "Camera is active. Please respect, not to scare anyone," to remind himself that boundaries were survival now. Noah stood looking at the neighborhood for a moment. Same houses, same lawns. The same people who once believed they had the right to define his value. Noah exhaled. For the first time in months, he felt light. Not because he succeeded in revenge, because he had taken himself back. He once believed power was what earned respect. But after everything, Noah understood something else. Real power is standing upright without needing anyone's permission. He turned back inside, grabbed Evan's jacket. "Come on, buddy. Ice cream?" Evan grinned wide. "Yes." Before closing the door, Noah glanced at the doorbell camera one last time. The blue light was still on. Small, silent, loyal. And inside Noah there was a message for anyone out there being looked down on. You can be called small. You can be crushed by a crowd. But you do not need to prove your value by becoming like them. You only need to hold on to truth, because truth always finds its way home. If you enjoyed stories like this, leave a comment and tell me what you would do if you were Noah. Do not forget to like and subscribe so I can keep telling more real-life stories where the truth always wins in the end.